What's going on YouTube, amputees, about to be amputees. Today is episode number 4, and we're going to go ahead and go over mental health, being an amputee with mental health, or developing mental health after becoming an amputee, or pre or post amputation depression or anxiety. We're going to cover those things. Also, we're going to be covering kind of how to mentally prepare yourself to walk again for those that are new to being an amputee, or just about to get a check socket, or their actual leg and they're about to start physical therapy and stuff. I'm going to kind of go over some of the mental aspects that they will cover in physical therapy that are kind of some key components to gaining the confidence and the ability to walk right. So that's what we're going to cover today. I want to start with the confidence side and the ability to walk. When you lose your leg, when you finally get your prosthetic, let's say, it's gonna be a little confusing, and you're gonna have one foot that you can feel the ground with, and then you're gonna have something you can only feel this high up, and all you can feel is the pressure of the prosthetic squeezing in on your leg. And so that kind of is really weird at first. When you first take your first few steps, you're like, whoa. And that's usually what the handrails or the crutches or cane are for and stuff like that. And partially, to gain the ability to walk right and to successfully walk right, you're going to have to learn to commit. And that's a big one. Key word here is commit. When I used to skateboard, the best way to explain commitment is you're staring down a 15-foot half pipe. You're standing there with your skateboard and you're leaning over the edge. Well, you have to lean your body pretty much vertically in order to drop in correctly. And when you're too scared, you tend to lean back and the board slides out from underneath you. Or if you're too scared, you're never going to try in the first place. It's just never going to happen. And so I learned from vert skating and street skating, from skateboarding, if you're going to learn to commit to something, there might be like ollying down 5 stairs, doing something crazy that you might hurt yourself, or you might fall. And basically, if you don't have the confidence in yourself and the commitment to do those things, they're not going to happen. So when I would skateboard, we would even mentally, we'd sit there and physically say, I got this, I'm gonna do it this time, this is the one, this is the time, this is the time, I'm gonna do it this time. And we would yell it, we would say it, we would repeat it, and that's how we'd build ourselves up mentally to commit to doing the trick. And when I first started skating, it was a lot of fear. I have a lot of anxiety and stuff like that. And so it was a fear at first. I was like, I don't know that I'm gonna be good at this or anything like that. And before I lost my leg, skateboarding was my thing, doing all sorts of insane stuff, BMX biking. We did a lot of jackass stuff as kids. That was my time era. That's not how I lost my leg or anything like that, but you got to learn to commit. So when you're taking that first step and it feels weird, you're like, well, I can feel the ground on this foot, but I can't, all I can feel is pressure shin high. What's underneath my foot. And what I would tend to do is when I first started using my prosthetic, I would look at the ground, and the whole time I'm walking, I would be looking at where I was going to step next. I wasn't trusting my prosthetic, I wasn't trusting my leg. I was scared when I took the step that the prosthetic was going to fall off. I didn't trust that it would stay on, and so I took steps weirdly, very weirdly, and that was a problem. So that but the physical therapist, the way, probably a safe way to do it is to do it on a treadmill. And what he had me was look straight forward and have the treadmill in the slow settings with both railings on both sides, and I would just walk. Try not to use, I'd have my hands, if I needed them, out to grab the side rails of the treadmill, but I would just walk, and I'd catch myself looking down. And he'd always tell me, "What are you looking down? There's not a quarter, there's not a dollar down there, and like there's nothing to look down there for." And slowly I was able to take 20, 30 steps, 40 steps before I'd look down. And I eventually built a habit out of trusting my prosthetic, trusting that it's not going to fall off, trusting that what I step on, I'm not going to lose my balance. And over time, you're going to develop kind of like, it's like a sixth sense almost. It's, my physical therapist said, he's like, eventually you're going to be able to feel when you're stepping on a pebble. And I didn't believe him. I'm like, there's no way. All I can feel is my nub, and it's shin high. And all I feel is the prosthetic squeezing on it. How am I ever going to tell when I'm stepping on a pebble? And your body, your mind will eventually kind of build a database on what's going on. So when you step on a rock and it shoves your leg back a little bit, you're going to know that you stepped on something on the front right of your foot. Or if you step on a rock on the big toe area, it's going to send your prosthetic kind of in the back opposite direction of what you stepped on. So you know you're stepping on something uneven. So you got to learn how to build confidence and trust that what you're walking on and what you're doing, your leg's not going to break or fall off. And if you're in pain, that's going to be a problem. That's always a doubtful factor. Pain is a big deterrent when it comes to gaining confidence. The mental health aspects, pain can ruin mental health in all sorts of directions. It can ruin the confidence that you need to develop the proper walking mechanics, so you can walk right and not look at the ground and walk at an even pace. And it can totally pain can send you into depression where you have no confidence. You feel like it's pointless, it's worthless, it's never gonna go away, the pain's never gonna get fixed, nothing's ever gonna change. And that can send you on a downward spiral to not even trying in the first place. So that's kind of the confidence that you're gonna have to learn to build, is confidence in yourself, confidence in your step, confidence in your stride, confidence in your leg, that when you lift your good leg off the ground, that your prosthetic and your nub are going to hold up. And once you start to develop this confidence, that's when you're going to need the railings less, and that's when you're going to be looking at the ground less and stuff like that. And it can take time. Don't be discouraged. Everyone operates at their own pace. I've been a K4 active for years now. I'm a 6-year amputee, and I've been doing like black diamond mountain hikes here in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado, up at Hanging Lake, which is a real jagged, rugged, almost 45-degree angle hike. And I'm able to do all these things, but I was always so scared to run. I always wanted to run, and it took 5 years of being an amputee. Totally capable. I could have done this maybe 1 year into being an amputee. I probably could have been running, but I didn't trust my leg. I didn't trust that if I fell, am I going to break a bone? Am I going to break my femur again? Am I going to, break something? Oh, what's going to happen? All these things flooded my mind, and it prevented me from even trying. And my leg is a blade that you can take off the foot shell, and it has a little grip, not much, but has a little grip, so it's meant for like grass. I like to go to the beach. If you got a lake that, the shoreline, the water will pack the sand down. It makes a nice flat surface. And if you fall in sand, and it's pliable and it'll move. And that's where I learned. I went to Florida and on a vacation to see my family. We were at the beach, and I was like, I'm just going to try and run. I'm going to commit. And I'm just going to do it. I'm going to see what happens, and if I fall in sand. I made sure I wasn't trying to take a stroll down the sidewalk on a carbon fiber blade that didn't have enough traction. It could slip and fall. A lot of bad things. So I wanted to make sure I was in an area that I felt confident to try it in, like a grass field, or for some people, if you have a treadmill, if you want to start there with the railings on the side and learn how to run. But for me, it was I just decided I was going to slowly start to jog and then develop a pattern. And once I developed that pattern, I just took off running, and I felt the wind go past my face and I cried. After 5 years of being an amputee, I could have done this so many years ago if I just had committed or tried or didn't fear a negative result from trying. And so that's, that it sucks that it took 5 years for me to overcome that fear, but now that I have the confidence, and every time I want to run, I can run now. And so that's been a blessing. So that's one thing that I want to relay to you guys, that confidence is pretty key when it comes to developing a good stride, the ability to walk without limping or looking down or just even looking odd. I mean, people today, I don't, my jeans, they don't really go over my prosthetic very well, and I don't like to hide my prosthetic. It's a blade. My jeans will look really weird at the bottom. All winter, I keep my leg with the jeans rolled up on the side, and for me, I've always been confident in, I'd rather people, if I was limping, see that it's from a prosthetic. I'm a young guy. I was in my 20s, and my worry was people were going to see me as a young 20-year-old that was disabled with a limp, and so I always had my prosthetic showing, so people would never, and it was a irrational thought that people would even wonder or think, oh, look, the guy's limping. That's just a normal person. So, for me, that's another confidence thing, is that I like to show my prosthetic, and I know that's a lot different from most of you, that you guys like to hide it or make it look as close to a real leg as possible, and your self-confidence about that can be tough. And that's what I want to get into next, is kind of the mental health side of this. And I want to be transparent with you guys. I want to be 100% transparent. I'm a paranoid schizophrenic with suicidal tendencies. I've had a cutting disorder since I was 16, and I mean, my wrists are pretty much so bad I can't get them tattooed. It's just bad, and it's nothing to be proud of. I'm actually, very ashamed of it, but I've accepted that it's part of my life, and that I've struggled with mental health, depression, PTSD, anxiety, social anxiety, generalized anxiety disorder, paranoid schizophrenic with suicidal tendencies, the manic depressive, the list of the stuff and the medication I'm on, it's a cluster F. So that's my life, that's my reality, that's where I live every day, and I'm on disability. So the wintertime, for me, the wintertime is like a prison sentence. I can't go outside, I really can't do much, there's not much, so my mind is racing, and negative thoughts, and these, it becomes unbearable, and then I'm so terrified to leave the house, because I live in a building with elderly disabled, and they love to talk, and I don't love to talk. Well, to people, at least. To a camera, it doesn't bother me as bad. So I struggle with those kind of things, and mental health can really be a teeter-totter. If you're in pain, that can cause mental health problems. That can cause discouragement. You're not gonna want to try. You want to give up. It makes you mad. You want to throw your prosthetic. If you're out on a daily activity and you're just struggling and your leg hurts, you have an ingrown hair or something that's really bothering you, and it can get frustrating. I have skin problems. I'm an adult with adult acne, and I get ingrown hairs all the time, no matter how well I clean my leg, no matter what chemical or HIBA-Cleanse or what surgical hand soap I use to sterilize my liners, my nub. Doesn't matter, it's going to happen, and I've accepted that. And you gotta take mental health slowly with the stride, because it's not something that's going to change overnight. You're not just going to build confidence overnight. You're not just going to develop that ability to walk blindly in the dark with your prosthetic and have confidence. You're not going to trip, fall, or stumble, or know that you're stepping on actual ground and not something that can trip or fall. So, and you also have the aspects of mental health as is it gonna be a roadblock for you? Are you gonna have problems? Do you already have problems with mental health? Is that something you already battle and you're about to become an amputee, or you're an amputee and you just develop mental health problems? And sometimes that can happen. There's like postpartum depression, there's post-operation limb depression, there's post-amputation depression. People lose their limb and they get really depressed, and people that have been happy their whole lives that don't know how to deal with depression because they've never been there. And the people that have always been confident, and all of a sudden now they have no self-confidence and they don't want to show themselves in public, or they're too scared to wear a dress or a suit, or something, shorts or a skirt, or anything, mental health can really get in there, and it's a process. It's not a turn of a light bulb. It's going to take time. You got to build confidence in yourself. You got to build confidence in your situation. Accept, this is my new situation. This is how life is, and it's going to get better. There's always going to be positive and negative things to being an amputee. There's times where I still get frustrated and I want to throw it. I just want to scream, I hate being an effing amputee, and I lose it. And it's okay to lose it. It's okay to have a breakdown or to cry. It's okay to have those things in your life and go through those things. It's okay to express yourself and get that stuff out, especially with anger and sadness and self-consciousness and stuff like that. The things you got to remember, if you're dealing with, I can't walk far, I'm depressed because I can't get very far, I'm depressed because my life, I can't do the things I used to do. Well, there's positive affirmations. You gotta get yourself some positive affirmations. So here's one. If your leg's too heavy, or your prosthetic's too heavy, or you can't do a long distance, prosthetics are always getting lighter. They're always getting the ability with more ankle motion, depending on your situation. Even with hands, there's bionicle ones now where they operate off the brain, signaling electrical responses to the nerves, and it programs from that sensation that you send from your brain. So there's new things coming out every year. There's new stuff. There's always going to be a newer, lighter, better leg or better arm. We're living in 2020. In the future, we're here. Like, we're in the best time to be an amputee, compared to Civil War times, using wooden stuff. I've seen some antiques that look crazy. I couldn't imagine walking in a solid wood thing with no padding, no liner, nothing like that, and having a leather strap that you had to hold with both hands every time you took a step. We're not living in those times. That's something to be happy about. It's okay. With the advancements in technology, eventually there will be a leg that's going to work for you, or an arm that's going to work for you. Eventually you will be able to do those things that you weren't able to do. And as long as you commit and you trust that I'm going to get there one day, this is going to happen for me. I may have depression, I may have anxiety, I may have self-confidence about what people see me, but I'm going to get through it, and I'm going to find a way through it, because I'm not going to let being an amputee define my life. I'm going to let it be a part of my character, a part of who I am, and I'm going to take it in as the new me. This is who I am now. So I'm owning it. I'm walking with a sense of confidence. Like, you don't have to look at like I'm disabled or handicapped. You've been given a second chance with the ability to use a prosthetic. And back in the day, people didn't have that opportunity. There's support groups, we have the internet, there's research, there's doctors, there's an abundance of resources if you just try. You have to want to try. And I know it can be hard when you're depressed. There's times I don't want to get out of bed, and there's times I get frustrated just having to get up to go pee, and I have to put my leg on, or I get mad because I have to crawl, and there's going to be bad days. But you got to develop a level of confidence in yourself, a level of trust that you're going to get where you want to go. and talking to a spouse or your parents or your doctor or a therapist. I recommend all of those things. Also a healthy diet. I know that sounds corny, but a healthy diet, you are what you eat. You feel what you eat. If you eat like crap, you're going to feel like crap mentally, physically, your body. And if your body physically feels like crap, how are you going to do those things that you've been wanting to do physically with your body as an amputee? And then you're going to get depressed because you can't do those things. So change your diet, change how you're eating, change how you're thinking, do positive affirmations. Think about, if there's a negative thought, there's going to be a positive thought for it as well. And it's not always going to work, but if you don't push yourself, you're not going to get there. You're just not going to get there. And I like to turn my anger into fuel. And I use that to get through the pain. I use that to get through the ingrown hairs, the tireless, frustrating times that I have to take antibiotics, or I'm back on crutches for 2 weeks as I have an infection, an infected ingrown hair that takes 2 weeks to heal because they're so painful. And then I had a neuroma that I had to have an extraction and then remove the nerve tumor and replace it, the nerve endings, where they were going to end up growing back into a neuroma, but into my thigh. So I've had a lot of discouragement and pain, extra surgeries, complications. They can all be dampening on your spirit, but don't let it get you down, because you will get there. I know it's like he keeps repeating it, but that you have to understand you will get there. If there's something that you really want to do, all you have to do is really try and believe in yourself. And if you can't do it, reach out to someone that can. Reach out to someone that's going through your same shoes. Look online. Look at these videos. I do these for you guys to try and help out in any way I can. I know they're long and they're probably boring for most people, but for the people that need them, I know they're here. For the people that are, going through depression and suicidal thoughts and all this stuff and thinking that the world's over because you're an amputee, it's not. And they have prosthetics. If you're a rock climber, they have ones that have little rock climbing little foots. If you were a scuba diver, they have ones with paddle, flipper flaps. They have something for you. They almost have legs to do things that human legs can't do. So it's kind of cool, I think, and it's, don't look down on yourself. Look at yourself as in its achievement. You've accomplished something. Don't look at it as a brick wall in your way. Look at it as a speed bump or a slight hill. You're going to gain strength after you get up and down that hill. It's going to be smooth sailing from there. And what it took to get up the hill, you're going to build strength and endurance. You're going to learn how to overcome and adapt. You're going to learn how to find life hacks and little glitches and little ways to get around some of the things that bother you. It does slowly fall into place, and when it does, you're gonna forget about your old life, because you're living it. You're already back in it. You're doing what you used to do. And I don't skateboard anymore. That's a personal choice. I'm getting older. Have I been on a skateboard since I've been an amputee? Yeah, I've been on a skateboard. I've done some skateboard tricks, but I have new hobbies, and when it comes to mental health, that's another thing I want to mention. And one of the important things is not everyone lives where it gets really cold in the winter and the elements cause problems with the ability to do stuff or get around. Here in Colorado, we have a lot of snow. It gets brutally cold in the winter. The snow plow the streets, and all the snow gets pushed up on the sidewalks, and on the south side of any street that's going east or west, the south side of every sidewalk here stays frozen all winter. And it's always packed with ice, and I don't drive, my wife does. So I'm constantly taking the bus, walking on jagged ice and slippery stuff, and it's frustrating and all these things, but at the same time it's building strength in me, and it's building an endurance, and I'm learning how to adapt to them. And when it comes time to adapting in winter, when it gets cold like this, or when the elements limit your abilities, or you're stuck inside and it's been 2 weeks, and the COVID stuff's already with the quarantine and stuff like that, find hobbies. You know, for me, I have a lot of animals. I have scorpions, I have a snapping turtle, a toad, a tree frog. We have a dog, two bearded dragons, a ball python. You know, and our scorpions have babies, and we used to breed crested geckos, and we had a lot of hobbies. I do acrylic art now, and I do wet specimens, and I go out fishing in the summertime, and I collect all the bones and the crazy weird stuff that's dead, and I make wet specimens and crazy art oddities with it, and I sell it on our Z&G's Creepies Incorporated Etsy page. And I find ways to get around being stuck inside, stuck in my head, stuck with the mental health and the racing thoughts and the depressive thoughts, the irrational thoughts, the thoughts that aren't real, thoughts that are from being stir crazy, from being stuck inside so long. It's like when COVID hit, the first lockdown that we had, they were on the news. It was like, everyone's depressed and anxious because they're stuck inside all day. It's like, what do you think the people that are disabled, you know, I'm on disability for mental health. So I was on disability before I lost my leg. And it's like, what do you think the people what do you think us disabled folks deal with daily? And add mental health to having nothing to do. You got to find hobbies, and don't beat yourself up. If it's video games, let it be video games. Don't get upset. Like, don't beat yourself up because it's not something extremely active or whatever. Do puzzles. Do cognitive games. There's a ton of puzzle games and action games that still require, you know, cognitive thinking and stuff like that. You can do. There's apps. We're in 2020, the age of applications, cell phones, computers, tablets, touchscreens. There's drones. There's so many hobbies. You can get into acrylics or oddities or dead specimens. You can order those things and make art with them. You can do paintings, build candles. You can build bath bombs. I mean, there's a million things to do. And during the winter time or during downtime, if you just had surgery and you're down for 6 weeks, make sure you get some hobbies that you like to do. Make sure you do some things that you like to do and that you enjoy, and don't let anyone beat you up about it. If it's video game, you're always playing video games. Well, in my situation at the current state, this is what I got, and this is what's getting me through mentally. This is how I distract myself mentally. This is how I keep myself busy and not thinking those crazy irrational thoughts, because those can be a nightmare. You know, the silence is beautiful, but also the silence can be a nightmare. And it you know, I call it the wintertime solitary confinement. My wife works full time. I'm at home on disability without a car in Colorado, rugged terrain, hills. It's not easy to get around out here, and to find something to do all winter. You know, that's a key focus is keeping busy. And you know, I like to do a lot of research. You know, I do a lot of bass fishing all summer long to keep me busy. It keeps me active, it keeps me healthy. And in the wintertime, I like to watch a lot of bass fishing how-to videos and a lot of YouTube videos on stuff. And then I do acrylic art, and I breed the scorpions, and I do feeding videos and film all these crazy things. And I find ways to stay active. I love plants, so I have house plants. I have a philodendron plant that was my grandmother's. So the plant's older than me. I never even met my grandmother because she died before I was born. And my mom handed the plant down to me, and I'm still taking care of it. I make clones of it. I propagate it. I learn things. I keep my brain active. That's, with mental health, you got to stay focused, stay busy, stay active, and stay doing things that make you happy. Stay challenging yourself where it's not making you frustrated and down, but you're challenging yourself to where you accomplish it and you can accomplish it. Don't set goals that you can't do. Set something that's in between. Get there and feel that sweet accomplishment. When I started our Etsy, I didn't think anything of it this winter. I'm like, I'm gonna start an Etsy and see what I can do with some of the odd stuff that we build and the little taxidermy and wet specimens and all that stuff. And I built Z&G's Creepies Inc. And I had sales within the first week, and it took off. And it was a sign, like, this is what you're going to do this winter. You're going to make art. You're going to do these things. You're going to stay busy and active. And you want to stay active as well, like physically active, not just mentally active. If you're at home, if you can do push-ups, sit-ups, crunches. Like I said, eating healthy is another big factor to mental health. Eating better and trying to do things. If you can't walk a bunch, try doing sit-ups or try doing push-ups. And if you can't do push-ups, try doing sit-ups or squats. There's always something. I live in a building. When it snows real bad, there's 7 floors. I can take the stairway. I can walk 7 floors up and down several times and get my exercise while I'm indoors and in a safe area that's not slippery, wet, cold. So there's ways to be active even if you're trapped in an area where there's not much room to be active. Pardon me. So the mental health is all about being progressive about it and accepting, okay, this is what I'm facing, this is how I feel. It's okay to feel that way. It's 100% okay it's actually natural to feel a lot of the feelings that are going on, a lot of the mental health stuff. The one thing is you don't want to go down the rabbit hole of one negative thought leads to another one, leads to another one, leads to another one, and now you're so far down the well you can't get out. And that's a metaphor for can't get out, meaning you can't do anything. You can't do what you set your mind to do. You can't do the goals you set out to do. You can't do the things you set out to achieve. So don't let that, stop yourself. If you don't know what, forgot of it now. Positive thinking, you can just say that. Another word for is positive thinking. You want to basically catch yourself when you're thinking something negative and say, well, what's something positive out of that negative? What's something, well, besides this, I can do this, 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 and this. There's an answer. There's a positive there it is, positive affirmations. Look into positive affirmations. Look into the stress apps that play relaxing sounds. Close your eyes and do deep breathing exercises. For me, with having anxiety disorder, I'm on 3 Xanax a day, Depakote 3 times a day, Wellbutrin, amitriptyline. I mean, I'm on a lot of medication, and so that can have side effects, and that can be one thing, but you just want to stay actively positive as best you can and find the good in the bad. Find the fuel to fire your flame for your goals, if that makes sense. You want to turn what's negative and that's holding you back into the fuel that's going to get you through and over it. And I have a couple things here if I already haven't mentioned them. Try not to dwell on stuff too long. Like I said, try and catch yourself when you're on that downward spiral. You want to catch yourself and go upward from there. Be reasonable with yourself. Don't beat yourself up or set a goal that's too high, or say, I'm a pathetic loser because I can't even do a simple this or a simple that. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. That's not the way to be thinking about things, and that's not the way to set goals. And set goals that are reasonable, and they're okay. Like, it's okay to have smaller goals than others. It's okay to have other interests or other things that make you happy. It's okay to go through these things and find your way of expressing and getting it out the right way, the positive way, the healthy way. And don't beat yourself up a lot. Don't take it out on yourself. Don't beat yourself up about your amputation or your situation. Don't beat yourself up because you have mental health and now you're struggling with this or that, or rent's due, or COVID, or I lost my family. There's so many things right now in 2020 that are going on that you gotta give yourself some slack. You gotta give yourself a break. You gotta cut yourself, hey man, you're already going through this, and this. You're doing amazing at it because you're still here. You're still breathing. You're still on this earth. Every day above ground is a blessing, is a God-given blessing to you. And so I try to look at every day and be thankful for what I have, thankful for where I am, and thankful for the people I have, the resources, that I have a roof over my head in the middle of winter. Think of all the beautiful things you do have in your life, and that this amputation stuff is just going to be a quick speed bump. And if you're on mental health issues and you have mental health problems like me, medication, therapy. Me and my wife do couples counseling. Like, it's okay to do counseling. I'm a tattoo guy. Everyone, big tough guy. I do counseling. I do therapy. I talk to my doctor and I take medications. I do positive affirmations. I practice what I preach. I do what I can to keep myself positive, and from being down in depression and slumps, and from cutting myself or self-harming, because you don't want to do that ever. Always reach out to someone if that's ever something that you're feeling, thinking, or is crossing your mind. Don't keep it a secret. Reach out, even if it's to a hotline, even if it's anonymous, even if it's to a friend on Facebook or something. Reach out to someone. You have text, you have call, you have email, you have Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. There's always going to be resources to reach out. So never let it get to a point where you want to hurt yourself, or if you're feeling down that bad, make sure you go get help, because you need to make sure you're on the right path. And if you're not thinking clearly, how are you gonna navigate through life if you're not thinking focused and accurate where you're going? So, those are just some things there. Things I like to do, especially for the wintertime, something to do for the wintertime, self-help books. I mean, I have ones for my dysautonomia, and for PTSD, and for bipolar, and how not to beat myself up. They're self-help books. They're books to help me understand what I'm going through and better recognize and how to combat the thing that's bothering me, the depression, the anxiety, the doubt, the self-hate, whatever it is. I'll be able to recognize it, identify it, and know how to combat it properly by, reaching out to someone. And if you're one of those people that don't like to reach out, and, vulnerable is not your thing, you can Amazon some self-help books and no one will ever know. So there's always a way to get the resources, and to get them discreetly. There's that option too, and there's always a way. So, reach out, get self-help books. That's a great one for me. And it helps pass the time. I highlight it, I do notes. As you can see, I'm big on notes. So that, that's one thing. Also, the music. If you're listening to a lot of negative music, try and change it to upbeat music. Try and listen to some positive music. I listen to a gentleman called Dax, D-A-X, and he has songs called Self-Proclaimed, 1, 2, and 3. A song called You're Worth It. There's songs, there's motivation. You don't have to be a Christian. There's other ways and other positive music out there that doesn't have to be Christian music, or giddy, ha ha ha. Not everyone's in that kind of mood. I get that. I'm not one of those happy go ha 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 all day kind of guys with a big smile on my face, giddy all day. That's just not me. But change your music. Try and change what you're listening to. Change how you're interpreting the world around you, and change your input and output on what you're taking in. And if you're taking a negative music and negative input, you're gonna output that same stuff. So changing your music to motivational music, something that's going to get you up and get you moving, get you happy, get you pumped for the day, get you ready to take those challenges, ready to take on being an amputee, ready to prove to the world and get applauded. I mean, I've climbed up a black diamond trail, and I beat two-legged people at the top, and they're cheering me on, taking pictures. You mind if I get your picture? You're just an inspiration. It's like, I have my music, and Find something that motivates you to get up, get out, and do it. Or if you're stuck inside, to get up, learn, and get exercise indoors, or practice physical therapy at your house, or do positive things at home, reading, helping your mental health, understanding it, doing research, reaching out to people. Another thing is telemed. You can do therapy through chat. They don't even have to see your face. So there's so many apps and options now that you don't need to feel alone in this world. You don't need to feel isolated being an amputee or your situation, because there's at least 100 people in your situation, if not more. And that's, I'm talking around the world. I guarantee there's someone in a situation pretty much identical to mine somewhere in the world. So, changing your outlook, your music, how you're intaking the world, and how you're intaking music, and what inspires you and what motivates you, and making sure it's positive things and things that you want to be aimed towards, not self-harming, self-destructive, taking one step forward, 5 steps back kind of music, where it's real hard to explain, but everyone knows what I'm talking about. There's, they say don't put on sad music after a breakup, kind of, same situation. Being an amputee, this is important, will not and has not changed or altered your life and ruined your life. It's not, your life is not over because of this. I resented so much when I lost my leg. Because I wanted to get back on a skateboard, I wanted to be kick flipping, but the prosthetic with an ankle that doesn't bend. How am I gonna do all these kick moves and all this stuff? So there, I was frustrated. I was like, how am I gonna get around all these things? How am I gonna do this and that? And I was positive about things. I took things one step at a time. I took them as a challenge. I took them as an achievement. Every time that I got past something, I recognized it as an achievement. I rewarded myself. I treated myself. I made sure that I knew, you did this. This is an accomplishment. This is something you can be happy and motivated about. This is something to put on the internet, post on Facebook. I just did this. Whatever it is, be proud of yourself. Treat yourself. If you're really working on something and it's taking you 6 weeks, and like if your goal is to walk a mile, you finally walk a mile. Treat yourself. You know what I mean? I'm not saying go get drunk and whatever. Go get some dinner with a spouse or family member, or go celebrate. Do something that you want to do. Spend a little money or a little time doing something that you enjoy because you accomplished that challenge, and realize that being an amputee is just small achievements gradually over and over and over again. So if my life was like a PlayStation, I would have a couple 100,000 gold trophies because of all the different phases and levels and stages I have overcome as an amputee, before losing my leg, through the mental health stuff, battling mental health as a kid. I was on Xanax in the 3rd grade. I had been in Paxil. I haven't always been upbeat about life. And so reward yourself, treat yourself, don't beat yourself up about things. Take things as a step, one thing at a time. Don't think about 50 steps ahead of you. Think about the one that's in front of you. Don't think about the finish line. Think about the next step you're going to take. And with commitment, if you're just getting into your leg, you got to be committed. Commit to that step. Trust that your leg is going to stay on. Trust that when you step, and trust in yourself. Trust your abilities. Trust that you got this. Trust that your leg's not going to give out. If you need railings and stuff, always do what you need first. But push yourself, challenge yourself. Mental health can stop you, can block you, and can turn you around. And it's sad. I've seen amputees that are in a wheelchair and they don't have their prosthetic, and I'm like, they ask me questions about mine, and I'm asking about their leg, and they're like, oh, I have one, I don't use it because it hurt too much when I tried to wear it the first time. Yeah, because you have to put it on and wear it for 30 minutes and take it off, and then put it on for 30 minutes and then take it off. And then the next day you have to wear it for 45 minutes. Things are a process. Don't get too far ahead of yourself. Take things as a step, especially if you have mental health already. Accept who you are, accept the challenges that you deal with on a day-to-day basis. If you have mental health, accept those things. They don't define you. That's not you. They're parts of you. They're challenges and features of you. So don't look at it something as defining you. An amputee isn't defining who Gary is. I'm Gary the amputee. I'm not amputee Gary, and it's not defining who I am. I'm Gary and I can do anything I want. I'm also an amputee. That's how I look at it. I'm not looking at the world as, I'm an amputee, I can't do anything. That's not going to get you anywhere. And I know it seems cliche to say these kind of things, but these are the things that are going to get you where you want to go, where you need to be. And if you reward yourself and treat yourself and don't beat yourself up and take things as challenges and goals and achievements and not walls and spiky blocks in your way, and looking at from a negative aspect, try and look at it from a positive one and see how far it gets you. See how much things change when you just consciously remind yourself to get out of those negative thoughts. You gotta stay consciously reminding yourself, hey, don't be thinking like that. Write it on your hand, right? Use a marker. Positive affirmations. Yes, I can. The world is mine. You can write however many steps you did the day before, however many steps you want to get to. Write something on your hand. Be reminded, be positive, be active, be continuous, because I noticed in my life when I stop and I let depression get the best of me and I let it take a week of my life and just sitting, rotting away, it takes 2 weeks just to catch back up to where I was. And that's because of how many steps backwards, how deep I would dig myself in a hole, and how far I would revert myself mentally, and how far I had to regain all that ground that I had lost by sitting here dwindling in my own self-pity and self-sorrow. And I have mental health. I was born with it. I was on disability for it before I lost my leg. I'm crazy. I've accepted these things. I'm okay with these things. These things don't define me as me. They are just features and attributes and goals and achievements I've overcome in my life. And that's what I want to get to you guys is mental health. Reach out. If you need to, reach out. There's support groups. There's Facebook, Instagram. There's organizations like the Limb Preservation Foundation. You can Google anything and find anything you need mental health wise. If it's a doctor, free support groups, if it's an amputee support group you're looking to do, if you're self-conscious and you don't want people to know you're in therapy, do chats. If you're embarrassed about going to the bookstore and picking out a self-help book, order it off Amazon. They're not going to know who you are. No one's going to know what's in that box when it comes. Change the way you're looking at life. Change the way you plan to attack life. This is what I've been dealt. These are the cards that I've been given. What am I going to make out of this hand? Instead of just folding and quitting, what am I going to do with this hand? What are the next cards going to bring me? Learning, accepting what cards you've been dealt and how to deal with those cards And once you've done that, once you've accepted, once you've committed and confidently committed when it comes to physically taking steps, committed to recovery, committed to getting help. If it's drug and alcohol dependency that's causing depression and stuff, admitting that you have a problem. I was an alcoholic for 13 years because I was self-medicating to deal with the copious amounts of anxiety and dysautonomia, and I didn't realize that the part of my brain that sends out the anti-adrenaline chemical in your body that combats ephedrine or epinephrine, one of the two, that part of my brain doesn't work. So when adrenaline gets released, when I get scared, I stay shaking for hours. If I get upset or if I get anxious, I'm anxious shaking for hours. And I have to take a pill, alprazolam, a tranquilizer, to jumpstart that part of my brain into the calming area. So I've always dealt with aspects of mental health and dealing with it. I dealt with it the wrong way by self-medicating, and that's not how to do things. Find help, find resources, find YouTube, find these videos, email me, amputeeangler@gmail.com. My name's Gary Sloat, S-L-O-A-T. You can find me on Facebook if you need to chat. If you need to email me, email me. There's always someone out there. I can even help try and find some resources for you. Google's a great resource finder. Just stay positive, stay active, reward yourself, treat yourself, don't beat yourself. And that's what I have for mental health for this episode. Sorry it's taken a little longer to get to. Things have been kind of hectic lately, but we'll be off to episode number 5 next. So thank you so much for all that. Stay tuning in. I appreciate it. I know most people don't. The click-through rate's pretty quick. For those that needed this information, I'm glad you got it, and I pray for you. I pray the best for you. And if you need me, amputeeangler@gmail.com. Get at me. Let's get some resolutions. Let's find something to get this fixed for you, and let's find the help you need or whatever you need. Acceptance, commitment, it's all there. You just got to grab it. All right, guys.